Let's start. Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you for joining DataCon LA 2020. Welcome to the Data Infrastructure and Security track. And soon we'll be listening to Agile, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but Agile Scrum Overview with Sonia Macias. My name is Priya and my host is Bob Newstead. We will be moderating the chat and question and answer for you during your session. Sonia Macias is a passionate Scrum Master and a senior project manager, a certified Scrum Master, and she has a bachelor's degree from the USC, University of Southern California, and an MBA from California State University, Monterey Bay. And Sonia is currently in the Masters of Science program at USC. Sonia is a proud USC double Trojan. And with that said, my high school was a Trojan, just an FYI. Sonia is a consultant currently at Amgen with previous entertainment industry experience at Fox, Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal Studios, Universal Music Group, Sony Pictures. Sony is a servant leader, Scrum Master that has led Scrum teams to transition from waterfall to agile Scrum, leading to performing teams. Like, honestly, I do not know, but I respect that you're amazing. And without further ado, I'll hand this over to Sonia and I can bother you thereafter.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Priya. Appreciate all your dedication as working on the DataCom presentations. So welcome, everyone. It is a pleasure. It is an honor to be here with you. And the topic is we run Scrum Overview for competitive advantage. And one second, let me see if I can get my video. No, I can't. Okay. All right. So here we go. All right, and thank you, Priya, for my introduction. And here's the agenda. So what we'll cover is Agile. What is Agile? The Agile values, the Agile 12 principles, and we'll also cover Scrum. Scrum is a framework of Agile, the Scrum team, the Scrum ceremonies. We'll look at the Scrum user story, the Scrum product backlog, Scrum certifications, and the tools we use in Scrum, which is Jira and Confluence. Let me give you some background on Agile. So prior to 2001, so Agile is a framework for software development, just to give you the right context. And prior to 2001, software development wasn't working. The key problem was that there was a long lag time from the requirements gathering, requirements documentation, to when the business would actually get their software delivered to them. So what happened was, from 2001, there was a group of enthusiastic Agilists who came up with a response to change. They came up with a framework, and here's the summary of the framework of Agile. It's iterative development, meaning as you go, you're adaptable to changes. We have frequent delivery of business value, rapid feedback, and willingness to change. So you can see here in this, over to the right, the Agile, you see the Agile team, they're really running with Agile. So it's a way to get software delivered to the business faster. Let's cover the Agile values. So as I mentioned, Agile is a framework for software development, and Agile values more the individuals and interactions, the items on the left. And this is from the Agile manifesto. Working software, collaborating with our customers, with our business, responding to business change. As you know, many of our businesses are very dynamic environments, and we have to adapt to their changing needs. Let's cover the Agile principles. I will focus on the blue. So 1, early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So what I mean by valuable software is what's valuable to the business. Number 2, we welcome changing requirements. As I mentioned, the business have a lot of changes. And you could imagine in the pandemic, now with everything remote and online, so as the development team, we need to be responsive and give the business the changes that they need as their high priority items. And what does this deliver? This delivers competitive advantage. So if you want to think of why are we doing Agile, it's really to gain competitive advantage. Number 3, in Agile, we deliver working software frequently. So for example, in Agile Scrum, we have sprints. So we'll talk about that in a bit. And so it could be a 2-week sprint, a 3-week sprint. So after at the end of that sprint, we're delivering working software. Number 4, the business and the developers work together daily. Sometimes it could be the business analyst representing the team and working with the business. Number 5, this is key. We build projects around motivated individuals. So when I say motivated individuals, teams that are motivated to do Agile Scrum, to get the job done. Number 6, we value face-to-face conversations. Of course, now in the pandemic, we are remote, but of course we use our tools, Zoom and so forth, and face-to-face conversations. Number 7, how do we measure our progress? Working software. That's important. And it gives the business confidence that we are delivering, and the business are able to use some of the components of the software and actually see that we are on the right path to deliver their requirements with the working software. Number 8, sustainable development. So the Agile Scrum team does promote sustainable development. Sometimes, of course, it could be a POC, which may be a proof of concept, which has a shorter lifespan, but we do sustainable development. Number 9, the development team, they have commitment to technical excellence and adherence to good design. So we do follow the practices of following the governance processes. Number 10, simplicity. What's simplicity? We maximize the amount of work not done. Number 11 is also key. The teams are self-organizing, meaning they don't have to wait until they have a daily stand-up to give any status feedback. So the team's able to communicate with each other and communicate with the team to move the project forward. Number 12, this is also key. In Agile Scrum, at the end of the sprint, the team reflects on how can they improve the sprint? How can the team improve? So it's, like we said, Agile Scrum is iterative. So it's constant fine-tuning and improvements. Okay, let's look at Scrum, the framework. So here it is, Scrum in the yellow, and we previously mentioned also it's just like in Agile, the team deliver products in shorter cycles. So again, one second, it could be in the 2-week sprint. When I was at one of my entertainment companies, the team was a high-performing team doing 1-week sprints, and I was so proud of that team. They were like clockwork. They were very self-organized, very mature team, which started from transitioning from waterfall into Agile Scrum, and they were doing 1-week sprints. The business was extremely confident and extremely reliable on that team. So fast feedback. Again, the team in Scrum, continuous improvement, and of course, rapid adaptation to change, whatever the business asks for changes and reprioritizing. Okay, let's look at the Scrum team. So the Scrum team is made up of the product owner, the development team, and the Scrum Master. Let's start with the product owner. So the product owner holds the vision. The product owner owns the roadmap. So the product owner is responsible for maximizing the value of the product and manages the product backlog. So when we say product backlog, you could think of your list of enhancements or list of all the requirements that the business is asking for. Let's look in the middle, the development team. The development team is responsible to build the product according to the vision that the product owner has. So the development team, they deliver an increment of done. So that is the goal, to get to done at the end of each sprint. And as I mentioned before, the development team, they're self-organizing. The Scrum Master, so such as myself, is a servant leader to the team. The Scrum Master facilitates removing roadblocks and helps the team understand Agile Scrum practices. So you could think of a coach, and facilitates the Scrum ceremonies. Let's take a look at the Scrum ceremonies. Sprint is the heart of the Scrum. So starting over here, where we say monthly plan and replan. So this isn't actually part of the official part of Scrum, but at one of my entertainment companies, that's what they would do. They would do monthly planning and replanning. So the product owner would meet with the business sponsors and put together, update the roadmap, and then we'd also update it on a quarterly basis and then on a monthly basis to see what the business needs and requirements are. Then we have the product backlog. So the product backlog is your list of all requirements. You could think of list of the high-level requirements. And then from the product backlog comes into sprint planning. So as I mentioned before, a sprint could be a duration of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or like my high-performing team, 1 week. So you take, the product owner says, okay, these are the top priorities that are going to be planned into this sprint. And then that goes into what's called the sprint backlog as well. So now we're into the sprint, and we have the Scrum team working on the, you could say stories that are defined for this sprint. On a daily basis, the Scrum team participates in what's called a daily stand-up, or it's also called the Scrum. And at the end of those 2 weeks, then or the end of the sprint, could be 1 week or 3 week sprint duration, the Scrum team delivers their working products, their working software. So then the Scrum team provides a demonstration of the work that they have accomplished. And of course, we have shippable working software. Over here, we have the retrospective, and we'll talk about a little bit more. At the end of the sprint, the team reflects on what went well, what didn't go so well, and how could they do better. So this gives you an overview of the Scrum ceremonies. Okay, so we talked about the framework to get work done. And then we also mentioned about the sprint planning. So the sprint planning, the team determines the work to complete. And we also mentioned that in the sprint planning, there's also monthly planning and replanning. So again, it's to plan the work that's going to get completed and done. And the daily stand-up. What does the daily stand-up provide? It provides transparency, knowledge, and communication. So basically, each team member knows what each other are doing within the stand-up. So the daily stand-up, it's time boxed for 15 minutes, and each team member provides what they did yesterday. And of course, I have reference to Jira because that's what I've been using as the tool. What the team members going to work on today, and if there's any blockers. Okay, so now it comes to the sprint review demo. So the sprint review demo, each team member, you can see here in this illustration, provides a demonstration of the work that they completed in the sprint. And then the product owner accepts or rejects the story based on the acceptance criteria of the story. As previously mentioned, we have a retrospective. The retrospective gives an opportunity for each team member to inspect and create a plan for improvement. So each team member provides what worked well, what didn't work well, and what actions can we take to improve our process going forward. So again, the beauty of Agile Scrum is there's no blame. Everyone is a team and works for continuous improvement. Okay, this is an important aspect of Scrum. So in Scrum, we have what's called user stories. So user story, you could think of as a requirement for any functionality or feature. So the user story does have a framework to write the user story in. So if you look at the first bullet point, it says, as a, and you fill in the blank, the user role or the customer, I want to, and you fill in the blank, goal to be accomplished so that I can, and the reason for the goal. So that's the way this user story is written in the Scrum framework. And here's an example. So as an ad planner, I want to enter the deal number in the ad sales dashboard so that I can search the ad sales by deal number. So when you're specifically writing the user story, it has to be clear, complete, and concise. So many times the business analyst could write the user story. Sometimes it's actually the developer. It could be the product owner. I also have been asked as the Scrum Master to write the user story. So sometimes the Scrum Master does wear many hats. Traditionally, the Scrum Master wouldn't write user stories, but a lot of times the Scrum Master is asked to write user stories. Okay, so part of the user story, it contains the acceptance criteria. So the acceptance criteria is the accepted condition or business rules which the functionality or feature should satisfy and meet. So here's how you would write the acceptance criteria. Given some precondition, when I do some action, then I expect the result. So in relationship to the previous user story, it would be the acceptance criteria would be written as, when I open the ad sales dashboard and enter the deal number, then the ad sales by deal number displays. So again, with user stories, the user story should be broken down into smaller stories, such as what I gave you an example. Because in Agile, you want to work on smaller stories and move them from to do, from to do to in progress to testing to done. Okay. We also, as the Scrum team, estimate the story points, estimate the user story in terms of points. And the estimation is to determine how long of effort, how much effort you estimate that's going to do that body of work, such as this story. So in the Agile Scrum framework, it's pretty much based estimating on the level of effort, and not so much in days of work, but on the level of effort. There's different schools of thought. There's also the Fibonacci school of thought, which uses like 5, 8, 13, or there's also sometimes they use t-shirt sizing, small, medium, large. So the team estimates how long the story, what is the work effort for that story, and gives the story points. All right, now here we have Scrum tools. So Jira is a popular tool. It's developed by the Atlassian, and the purpose of Jira is to create user stories, plan sprints, distribute tasks across the team. So it gives transparency. So you can see an example of an activity of a sprint. So for example, this is just one that actually I got just a sample off the internet. So you could see you have to do, you have in progress, and this one has code review or done. So in my experience, we used, instead of code review, we had testing. So code review would have been a part of in progress, but you could have these swim lanes according to your needs. So Jira is a fantastic tool. You build your stories out. So remember I mentioned you have your backlog. So you would also have all your stories into the Jira backlog. And then as you are ready to move into your sprint, you populate the stories into your sprint plan, and then when you're ready to start the sprint, then you kick it off. And in my stand-up ceremonies, I show this activity sprint, and then each, like I mentioned, each team member would say what they worked on yesterday, what they're doing today, and if there's any blockers. So at any point in time, the Scrum Master, the product owner, the team can look into Jira and can see where the story is in the swim lanes, right? So basically you want this, like I mentioned, the stories to be broken down into smaller components so that the stories could move further into done. And not, if you have a story, say for example, if it's a huge story, the story will stay in progress for a long time. So that's the beauty of breaking down the story into smaller components. Okay, another tool that we use in Agile Scrum is Confluence. So Confluence is tied to Jira. It's also used as a landing page for project and team wikis. It's also used to track ceremonies, sprint, Scrum status, as I mentioned, tightly integrated with Jira. So for example, in Confluence, you have many, they're called gadgets. So something like a widget, you could bring in your Scrum, and then you could see, for example, okay, for this sprint, this team has 30% of the work complete. And going to the right, this team has 21% of the work complete. They had 0 scope changes, right? Or if they had scope changes, you could see it. Going toward the bottom, this one shows there's 9 days left in the sprint, but they only had 0 work complete. So it provides transparency and provides visibility into the status of the sprint. So again, the Scrum Master, product owner, and the team, you want to move your stories from to do to in progress to testing to done, so that you could actually show the true progress of the team. Okay, now, so as I mentioned to you, I'm a certified Scrum Master. I'm also a certified Scrum Product Owner. So you too can be certified, distinguish yourself as a Scrum Master. So here are the levels of certification, and actually there's quite a few more. So certified Scrum Master, a certified Scrum Product Owner, and a certified Scrum Developer. So to be certified, you will need to go through the Scrum Alliance's training courses. They have vendor approved training, so you can't just go through any course. And when I took the course, this was actually some years ago, and it was of course prior to the pandemic. So it was in person, it was at a hotel, 2 days of training, but it was awesome. You interact with various other people from other companies, and you practice, and you come up with a product that you want to develop and create. So I encourage everyone to get certified, and I'm sure now, of course, with in the pandemic times, it will be online. And there's also now, I'm sure some of you have heard of Safe Agile. So there's also other iterations of Agile practices. Here's some references that you may want to review. So the principles based on the Agile manifesto, and of course the link information. And then there's a Scrum guide. So Keith Sutherland is a popular name in the Agile Scrum world. He's the one who came up with the Agile Manifesto and started Scrum back in, was it 2001 or so forth. So yeah, it's a definite guide, the rules of the game, the Scrum guide. And as I mentioned to you, Scrum Alliance, they provide excellent resource, as well as the certified vendor for the training. And here's just a reference of what is a user story and testing acceptance criteria. So in my experience, I think this is the biggest challenge, is writing user stories. So if you master user story writing, you've mastered Scrum. So as a passionate Scrum Master, I'm passionate about writing user stories. I've worked with my teams and give them feedback. So I'll just share with you, when at one of the entertainment companies, the first sprint was challenging when we transitioned from waterfall to Scrum, because it was new to most of the team. And so a lot of people struggle, especially the business analyst. He struggled with writing user stories. But of course, as a Scrum Master, you have to coach and work with your team. Okay, and of course, I'm happy to connect with anyone. So of course, LinkedIn, and of course, email, and KJLH, kindness, joy, love, and happiness. Thank you. Let's go to the question and answer. Question and answer? Bob? Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Sonia. Thanks so much for that really great talk. I'm a lapsed certified Scrum Master. So really appreciate, there's always a lot of funny Scrum stories.
Yes.
But I'd like to get your take on what I think is that Scrum is done differently in every company,
Yes.
and there's a lot of flexibility. to this framework. So what is your take on when a team should go to a Kanban style that isn't iteration based?
Okay, so in one of my entertainment companies, actually, I didn't go to Kanban, but my other Scrum Master, he went to Kanban. And he said when it was more like, say, operational tasks, they were not following a actual like a sprint cycle. So it was more like operational types of tasks. And that's what he used as Kanban. But yes, Kanban is popular, and that's what he mentioned was his reason for not following an actual sprint cycle. But you are correct. Each company has their little bit of flavor or adaptation to Scrum. And one thing that I've experienced, so many times the ceremonies are, instead of having individual ceremonies, are combined into like one meeting. For example, the demo, the retrospective, and the planning, we would combine them into one meeting. And again, the reason is because management didn't want all the teams to be in so many meetings, which makes sense, and it worked for everyone. Like I said, after the team got acclimated, everyone was power hitting and going through it. Yes, next question.
Yeah, that's great. By the way, anyone who's attending live can put questions in the Q&A. I think we have time for a couple more. I'll ask also, what do you see as the most likely dissatisfaction with Scrum and the things that need to be done to address that?
Okay, the most likely with Scrum, most likely dissatisfaction. I would say that when team members are reluctant to adopt to Scrum, I would say that's it's like you're either on the train or or the train has left you. I would say that's one of the biggest thing. Another challenge that I have seen is unplanned work. So Scrum is about, right? You plan your stories and you put them into the sprint, right? But sometimes, right, there's a lot of executives come and they say, oh, I need this now. Or the Scrum team is pulled off because there's some emergency. There's some production issue that no one else can figure out and fix. So those are some real world dissatisfaction.
Thank you. I had some flashbacks there. I think
yes.
About broken sprints. We would just stop the sprint and address maybe an important business issue.
Yes.
Well, that was really great. I think Priya has some closing words to say. Take it away.
Hi. I think you did a beautiful job. And I will say this much. I have your number in my phone, which I tried to email you about. So.
Okay, fantastic.
No, it says DataCon, and then it has your name and number in my phone. That's why I was like, and then when you messaged me or emailed me, I was like, I do not recall meeting her. So, apparently we met.
So. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably, maybe after you heard my presentation, maybe you were in my presentation last year when it was at USC.
No, absolutely
No,
not.
it's coming back to me. Yes, I think we must have met at a conference or so.
A DataCon conference.
Okay, DataCon. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But a pleasure to run into you again.
Yes. Any other questions?
You did a beautiful job.
Okay.
Round of applause.
Yay. Thank you, everyone, all your audience. And so it was fantastic. Bob, Priya, it was a pleasure, everyone. Have an awesome weekend and run with Scrum, competitive advantage.
Okay, perfect. Take care. Bye.
you,
Thank
Sonia.
you, everyone. God bless. Bye.
Bye-bye.